You don't hear nothing in the background, right?
I hear you saying all that, but no, nothing in the background.
Okay. All right. Sharing it now.
Mm-hmm.
You hear me?
I can hear you, brother.
All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is the 5 o'clock witching hour. That's right, the fan zone is back for episode 2. Yo, Manny, they thought we must have done something right episode 1 because they let us come back for episode 2. I'm Mike Phillips. Beside me is my co-host, Manny, the man Schefter. Manny, how you doing? How's everything going?
Oh, I'm doing good after some good news finally by the Nets, but we could talk about that soon. How was your day, sir?
My day was good. Listen, there's been a lot going on in sports, and we're definitely going to dive into a lot of that. We're going to give our perspective, especially our perspective of our teams, if we think our teams have gotten better, if our teams have gotten worse, or our teams just don't know what the heck they're doing. But we're going to be talking about that today. But I'm actually excited. And I got to give a quick shout out before we get into everything. I got to give a quick shout out to Greg Polius from Smoke and Mirrors. He talked about, I guess maybe he had an epiphany after he saw our show. I'm gonna try to think that maybe we had something to do with giving him the push on it. But he talked about the worst sport fan base, right? So I thought today our segment would be what we think is the worst sport fan base that we're going to talk about today. We're going to get into. We're going to discuss where we come into it as fans, what we have seen. But before we do that, NBA free agency started at 6 o'clock p.m. last night. And we have had some moves. Manny, Schefter, your phone must have been buzzing.
You don't see my eyes,
Womack's
man?
phone. Yeah,
I'm exhausted.
I see it.
I'm tired. I've been on since 4 a.m.
And listen, I bet shout out to Womack. He's probably been getting his phone buzzing left and right with moves. But what has been going on? Let's share with some of our fans that maybe have been living under a rock and have not been following. But what's been going on?
Oh, well, as of today, shout out to Carmelo Anthony, former Knick. Even if you weren't a Knicks fan, you had love and respect for Melo. So shout out to him. He is officially a Laker for 1 year. I kind of wish he was a Laker back when the Lakers were in the bubble because I wanted him to get a ring. Now I got to go against him, unfortunately. As much as I love Melo, I got to go against him because he's going to go up against my team, the Nets. So, it's going to be good. But if the Nets, I wish him the best, but I'm out for blood this upcoming season. But next, you have the Bulls making some shocking moves. I mean, they got Vucevic last year. They got Zach LaVine already. And then now they get Lonzo Ball. And then they also add DeMar DeRozan. Not sure if that's finalized, but from what I've seen from Shan, Schefter, and everybody, they're saying reportedly a 3-year deal for DeMar DeRozan. I thought, shout out to Ziggy as well. We thought we got an alert already saying that he was going to the Mavericks, which was interesting. So I was like, oh, Luka gets some help, because Porzingis is just a waste. But the Knicks, hey, you guys re-signed back Alec Burks. You get back Nerlens Noel and you get Derrick Rose. But then you also signed Evan Fournier. Now, as a Knicks fan, Mike, how do you feel about that? 4 years, 78 mil? What's your take on that?
So at first sight, I was a little iffy on the price, only because the Knicks came in with $54 million to play with during free agency. Within 3 to 4 moves, we spent almost 54 mil. We almost spent it all up, and that was re-signing Alec Burks, which I like the move. That was signing Nerlens Noel. Oh, Best move. I love that kid. That guy is phenomenal in the paint. I've always loved watching him play. Then you got Evan, right? You're giving him 78 mil. Now, I thought it was high until I read one of the comments. Again, shout out to Jay Womack, that stated that he was already getting around 17 to 17.5. And I believe the deal we gave him per year is around 18.5. So it's still in the ballpark of what he's getting. He's still young too. So giving him a 3-year with a 4-year option, team option, is not as bad as people are talking. It also gives us help, right? Because we're still building that nucleus. We still got that team around us. You still got Barrett. You still got Julius Randle, right? Now you got Derrick Rose you re-signed. Now you got Evan Fournier. Now you got Nerlens Noel. Right? You got all these players that were gelling. They got us to the playoffs last year, and we didn't have a true superstar. Now, do I say Evan Fournier is a true superstar? No, please don't anybody try to hang me up on that. But listen,
be careful, you might get misquoted, man.
Listen, get misquoted in the sports hit list streets. Oh, they're probably already crucifying me somewhere. But listen, with that being said, I think he will be a good addition to the team, but only time will tell. Were they giving him that money off of France beating USA, or were they giving him that money on how he's done during the seasons? Only time will tell. But the Nets picking up Patty Mills. What do you think of that?
I was happy about that today. I was like, it's funny. I was talking to a couple of friends of mine, and I'm like, losing Jeff Green hurt me because Uncle Jeff, man, I love that guy. Always. We got back Blake Griffin. Then I'm like, okay, what's going on with this Spencer Dinwiddie? The reports that we're holding him hostage. It's supposed to be a sign and trade to the Wizards for, I'm guessing, Montrezl Harrell and a guard. We don't know. They haven't said anything. I've been looking at Twitter all day, and my phone's been blowing up. But then also getting Patty Mills, I was like, oh, okay. We got James Johnson as well. That'll for 1 year. And I'm like, okay, we only have 1 year left based on my prediction a couple years ago once KD and Kyrie came to the Nets. I said we only had 2 years out of the 4 years. Because let's not forget, KD missed a year already. And Kyrie was ridden with injuries throughout the first year. So, again, now we got Harden from last year. So this is the year we have to gel and get this chip. Because the way the NBA is going right now, it is, I'm praying for a healthy season for every single team because I want this to be the most competitive. Honestly, I want every team to be at their best. That's what all of us want as fans. We don't want to hear what is. Oh man, if this guy wasn't hurt, forget it. Like, trust me, I don't get me wrong. As a disgruntled Nets fan from last year's performance, I'm from this year's performance. I was a little mad, but you know what? Injuries ridden us, but injuries are part of the game.
Now, let me ask you a question though. Staying on the Nets for a second. You also re-signed Blake Griffin for another year.
Yeah.
So re-signing Blake Griffin for another year. We saw towards the tail end and mostly in the playoffs too. And I don't know if it was mostly because of injuries, and I don't follow that other team in New York, which is the Nets. I follow the Knicks. I'll just go out and say that. But with that being said, do you put Blake Griffin as your starting center and have DeAndre Jordan, if he's still on the team, as your backup?
Yeah, I'm guessing so because again, the league is a small team league now. You have all these teams with small lineups. Like your power forward is playing center and your power forward is 6'9". So again, it's like you only have certain teams that have bigs. Like you have Jokic, you have Embiid, you have now Drummond's on the Sixers, which is like, okay, I guess it's insurance. Well, I think it's insurance because honestly, if I was Embiid, I'll ask for a trade because clearly they're asking for 1,000 things for Ben Simmons, like 5 first-round picks. Like, first of all, the man can't shoot. I'm sorry. Like, people crucified Giannis, Jay skipped Balex, he was ridiculing him. Other people were ridiculing him as well because he didn't have a jump shot. But at least Giannis takes the shot. He attempts it. Yeah. It's not like he hesitates. He's like, all right, I'm going to just shoot. If I miss, cool. I'm going to still kill you in the paint. So if I was Embiid, honestly, I actually trade. I'll go somewhere else. And we don't know what's up with Damian Lillard. We don't know if he's staying with the Blazers. That's another thing, be careful, Knicks fans,
I don't know. I don't know because so my issues with Philly and what they're asking for with Ben Simmons is they're asking for an entire team for one player that has shown he cannot make a shot. He is terrible. He is terrible. I am sorry. He is not an all-star. I don't care what anybody says. Philly is putting smoke and mirrors, no pun to the name, around these other league teams saying that he's this great player. I have never thought he was an amazing player. I have always thought he was trash. And I will go on record and say he is trash. Now, with Embiid, that's a tricky one because you bring in Drummond, who is a bona fide center as well. Now, the only way it works is if you have like a Twin Towers, where you have Drummond and Embiid together and put one as the power forward. Does that work? I don't know. Now, you also know that they had a feud on Twitter a couple of years ago.
Oh, and yeah. I've seen the tweets.
Funny, what's funny is when Drummond signed, the first thing that came out on Bleacher Report was, hey, Embiid, you remember what you said here? Remember the feud? Now, we also have people on in the chat. Shout out to Zane. He's saying negative. He's going to say Drummond's going to be off the bench. Maybe, but you don't know. You know, does this give Embiid more rest time to be able to be the star that he is in late minutes in the fourth quarter? So that's another thing to look in mind. I want to go back to the Lakers for a second, though. You had mentioned Carmelo Anthony signing. That's a very shocking move. I actually thought he was going to be coming back to the New York Knicks. I know that there was mutual interest for him to be able to come back to New York. I feel like he got a raw deal the first time around, and I kind of wanted him to be able to come back and hopefully end his career with us. And I was hoping that, as a Knicks fan, I was hoping he would be able to bring the championship. Not saying that's going to happen. So please, NBA fans, don't rip me apart because I think the Knicks are going to the championship because of the moves. No, but what I do want is I'm trying to figure out what their starting five would look like. So I'm thinking, obviously,
don't forget they re-signed Dwight Howard.
Right. So you have Dwight Howard. Obviously, Dwight will be your center. Then you got Anthony
Malik
Davis.
Monk. They got Malik Monk as well. So they got a little depth there. They got a
But
bench.
where do you put? But the problem is, and this is where some of these superstar teams or these teams that all these players that are great players, all stars for certain teams, want to play together on these super teams. How do you play all of them, and how do you give them enough burn? And that's where I go into this because you got Russ, you got Carmelo, you got AD, you got LeBron, now you got Malik Monk, you got Dwight Howard, and then you also got other players that were cooking for the Lakers. So how do you fit them all in? Is it a great rotation? Absolutely. But Carmelo, does he come off the bench?
He's coming off the bench. Like it's already, I'll tell you this right now. Like people, obviously a lot of Melo fans, including myself, you know, we thought he would do well. I mean, look what he did with the Blazers. You know, the Blazers are like, all right, you're coming off the bench regardless. Yes, we know you're Melo. We know you're walking bucket. But you're pretty much getting older in a younger league. So it's like, okay, you're the veteran. You're the guy we look up to. So it's like, all right, you have the experience more than all of us. So guess what? You're going to come off the bench. And trust me, he had some big moments with the Blazers, especially in the bubble. He had some tough shots towards the end of the games, which helped them get to the playoffs and stuff like that. So again, he's going to come off the bench. Malik Monk's coming off the bench. Obviously, Westbrook's going to start. We know that. Yeah. Westbrook, Anthony Davis, LeBron, they're going to start. But getting Dwight Howard, it's good insurance because, again, AD is injury-ridden. Unfortunately, as great as a player he is, he gets hurt. Injuries, especially. Basketball season is a long season at the end of the day, no matter what. It's 82 games. It may not seem a lot to us, but it's a lot to them, especially them on the court every single day. So for the Lakers, I feel like they got that depth that I wanted with the Nets. I wanted the Nets to get a bench because obviously
you had it last year, though. The Nets had a depth last year. It was injuries that screwed you guys up. But that trade deadline, when you brought in a Blake Griffin and you brought in all these complementary players, that was your depth. I felt like last year was your best opportunity, and I feel like you're losing some of those pieces that were your depth, aka Jeff Green. You know, I certain players like that, I feel like you're losing that nucleus.
Yeah, and let's not forget about CP3. You know, that man is smart. his agent, him in general. He bets on himself no matter what. And he 4-year deal, 120 something mil. Like it's insane. Like the man's gonna be 40 making over 100 mil easy.
Yep.
So again, kudos to him. Suns pretty much got back Cameron Payne as well, I believe. So they're still the same team. Will they make a push later on in the season to get some other trades, depending on who's available? Will be interesting to see. But the Bucks losing PJ Tucker, that I feel hurts them because again, PJ Tucker was one of the main guys, one of the guys to help that came off the bench. He was their dog. As he said in the championship ceremony and stuff like that. I'm not gonna crack on him, but he's on the Heat now. The Heat look like they're a defensive ridden team. Like they're focused on defense and they're gonna bully you pretty much from what I'm looking at. But I crack jokes saying, "Oh, I'm gonna sleep on the Heat." I don't care about the Heat. I'm a Nets fan. We going all out. Ain't nobody on that team can guard my guys.
Well, listen,
that's just me talking as member. This is the fan zone, so we talk from a fan's perspective. So I don't care. So Anthony Diaz, all these Heat fans over here, Andres, I'm letting you know right now. Come see me in Brooklyn. Pull up. I'm here.
The Coliseum is ready. The Coliseum
I'll go to Miami
is ready.
too. I'll go to Miami. What's up?
No, but listen, I'm glad you brought it up because I was wondering when you were going to bring up the Heat moves. And I knew you were going to go over everybody else before you went through the Miami Heat because you're a Nets fan. You are a Nets fan, true in form. And listen, even as a Knicks fan, I didn't bring up the Heat as the number one topic, but they made some good moves. I guess they're doing Bad Boys 4 because they got another Lowry in Miami because they got Kyle Lowry now.
That was big for them.
Right? That was big. Now, my guess is is Dragon in that trade? No, right? He's still on the Heat right now?
Yeah, Dragic is signing trade. He's gone.
So he got traded. He's in Toronto now. So the money that they gave Butler, they got Lowry. Now, the money they gave Duncan Robinson. Let's talk about
90
that.
90 mil.
That man got a bag. And I'm not checking pockets, but that man got a bag. And I don't know if he has done well in the bubble, but then last year had okay numbers, didn't have stellar numbers, and you're going to give him 90 mil?
My question to you is, who would you give that money to? Him or Tyler Herro?
I would give that to myself and walk away and find another player because I'm not going after either two.
Pay off those student loans?
Worth it too. Oh, you're damn right. Pay off everybody's student loans. No, but seriously. Now the question is, you don't see Tyler Hero getting a bag, and the question is, do the Miami Heat even keep him? Because there was always talks that they would try to throw him into a trade.
Well, they had the opportunity to trade him to get Harden, and they didn't. Right. So now it bit them. But let's not forget, shout out to my boy Ray Rodriguez. He made a comment earlier saying that Victor Oladipo is made of glass. Now, a lot of the guys here, we don't hate Oladipo. Everybody has love and respect for the man, unless you really hate him, and that's just you. But the man he's always injured, and it sucks because he's such a talented player. He's not like a mega superstar or anything like that, but he's a really good player. And if he's a healthy player this season with the Heat, I'm telling you, the Heat could make noise. I'm not gonna be delusional and be like, oh, Nets in 2, even though I am gonna say that because I'm a Nets fan. I'm gonna go with that. Nets in 2. But if Oladipo is healthy, which is a high if, that's the thing, a high if, that team can go further than what it is because they still got Bam. Their starting 5 is good. Yeah. And Lowry brings that veteran. He's a dog too. Come on. The man was with the Raptors. They got a ring. Obviously, we know what happened with that. But you cannot diminish what Lowry has done for that team.
No, he's a great point guard. And he's a
great asset for them. For them, great asset because he doesn't get as injured as Dragic does. Right. Let's not forget in the bubble, he was hurt. Obviously, I'm not diminishing the Lakers. They won that chip. They won it because at the end of the day, they still had to play. They still had to play regardless. Just like the Warriors played the Raptors in the finals, regardless of the Warriors being injured with their main players. So again, kudos to the Heat. I'll see you in the second round because you're getting smoked.
What, you're not even showing your? Oh, he even left. He decided he didn't even want to be here anymore. He said, listen, he's going to smoke the Heat and he's out. But with that being said, we're going to go and keep going, and we're going to talk about the MLB trade deadline, talk about the MLB free agency coming up. I don't know where my man Manny Schefter went. If anybody can find him, let him know that I'm looking for him, because he just disappeared. He just left. I don't know if maybe one of our Heat fans, maybe Andres or someone, pulled his plug because he was talking about it. Did someone pull your plug? Because I think Andres pulled your plug.
Like I said, everybody's blowing up my phone, and somebody just I forgot to put it on like silent mode or whatever. People just hitting me up, man.
Listen, I was sending out the search party. I even told them I thought Andres pulled the plug on you because of how you were talking about the Heat. So shout out to Andres for being able to pull the plug on Manny and saying, nah, the Heat are going to be beating the Nets. I actually think the Heat will beat the Nets, but that's a different story. But listen, NBA is not the only free agency that we've had, is not the only movements that we've had in the past week. Our teams have been making moves in the trade deadline on the MLB. What are you thinking about with the Yankees, with Rizzo, with Joey Gallo?
So I like the move, getting 2 lefty bats, really good players. But again, I'm still frustrated at the fact that we didn't get really good starting pitching. We didn't get Berrios. We didn't try to get Max Scherzer, but obviously Max Scherzer wanted to go to the West Coast at the end of the day. So that's understandable. But you could have made a trade for Berrios. And honestly, shout out to yesterday's episode, Smoke and Mirrors, Steph, Declan, and Greg, and their guest, Andrew Kahn. Shout out to that man, dropping Kahn bombs, as people were quoting. This man was dropping knowledge, and I literally watched the episode twice. I had to, because before this episode, I had to discuss. He even mentioned that the Yankees literally had to trade for John Gray and Trevor Story. Like, we literally had it. But the Rockies dropped the ball.
Yep.
And then, so again, I'm still pissed off we don't have pitching. We still have Garrett Cole, but again, apparently Jordan Montgomery just tested positive for COVID today. So there you go, scratching. Yeah, and Cole. So again, 2 of our supposed best pitchers are doing what? Then we get Andrew Heaney, I believe is his first name, is Andrew Heaney. He pitches last night, gets shellacked, and it's like, oh yeah,
4 home runs. 4 home runs, just kept
against the Orioles,
like home run derby.
The Orioles, man.
Yeah,
like it killed me, and I'm just like, and it's funny. Greg and Steph, the fellas in the baseball chat, we were talking about it, and I'm like, Heaney is not that good, and he literally just proved it. He just proved that he got it. But let's segue to your team, my man. How do you feel getting Javi Baez? And Trevor Williams, I believe you guys got a relief pitcher, I believe.
Yeah, he hasn't really. I don't think he's up in the roster yet. I know we've had some injuries. I know Castro actually went out with COVID-related symptoms as well, so he might be coming into the rotation, but he hasn't been in the rotation yet. They had made some moves before the trade deadline. They brought up Rich Hill from Tampa. They made a trade for him. He's okay. He's older. He's gonna be one of those 5th, 6th starters. Right now, similar to the Yankees, a lot of our pitchers have gone down with injuries. Right, Taijuan Walker started the season well, hasn't really panned out as much as I wanted him to. He's been getting shellacked recently. I think he's injured, and nobody's really talking about it. I think he had a tweak in his groin on a swing a couple of games ago, and I think it's affecting his pitching. That's a different story, but bringing in Javi Baez, that's a big move. That wasn't the Cub I wanted, though. I wanted Chris Bryant. And I thought all signs were showing that we were going to get him. And then all of a sudden, something at the last minute happened, and he goes to the Giants. I was actually sweating bullets towards the end of the trade deadline because you hadn't heard anything, right? And it was maybe 2 hours before the deadline when we found out about Baez. But I'm sitting
it was like Baez was like 15, 20 minutes before the deadline.
Right, but there was talks. Yeah, it was talks that it was going to happen, like it was heating up, and then it happened. But before that, you hear nothing with the Mets. And it's similar to the Knicks that I had yesterday. And it's a frustration I have with the teams that I root for. The Jets do it, the Mets do it, the Knicks do it, the Rangers do it. All of my teams do it to me. And it's during the deadlines, it's during all of these opportunities where we can bring in these star players, we can bring in certain players to help me in everything or to help us as a team. They end up not panning out and we don't get them. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's wrong with our GMs. But you see that you got Steve Cohen saying he's going to drop money. He's going to throw money, right? He's going to give everybody money. And then you got Barros go away. You got Story, never got traded. Chris Bryant goes to another team. And we get Javi Baez. We just got Baez. We almost lost out on him too. And the only reason why we got Baez is because he wants to play with Lindor. But he also then turned around after he got traded. And this is a man, we're not trying to make a rental. We're trying to give him a contract. Turns around and says, I would still love to go back and play for Chicago after the season. So now I don't know what to think as a fan. So I like it. He had a scare yesterday. I was watching the game last night. He had a scare. He run into first. He was trying to get out of the way of the first baseman. He didn't want to step on the first base or the pitcher, I should say. I'm sorry. He didn't want to step on the pitcher at a play at first, and he kind of hyperextended his leg. I think he's okay. We'll see how that goes. But he hasn't even been with us for a week. Shout out though to the trio of Cubs hitting home runs in every single one of their debuts with a new team.
Oh, of course. Let's also not forget Andrew Kahn yesterday dropped saying that literally with like 2-3 minutes left before the deadline yesterday, that the Mets almost got Byron Buxton, I believe. And like, you guys would have gotten him. Oh man.
Yeah.
That's a championship contender. I mean, obviously Byron, it takes more to it, but to add him to that team, like I was talking to Greg and Steph about it, and it's crazy, man. To be a Met fan right now, you guys should be happy. Even with the team you have now, it's again, I'm just saying for you guys from outside of nobody that's not like I'm not a biased Met fan. Like I'm a Yankees fan, diehard, but you know, seeing what the Mets are doing, like with this new owner, like you guys deserve it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm still not root for you guys when you go to the chip, unless y'all play Boston. Then I got or the Rays. Anybody in my division or any team I hate, I'm a hope for y'all to win it, but then I'm gonna get annoyed with you guys when you win it because I already know you guys are ready to come at me. But you know, for the specific diehard Met fans that I respect, you know, except for Greg. Everybody else I can respect that Met fans, you know, but not Greg Polius. Sorry, Greg.
No,
Mama Polius, if you're watching, just hit him for the one time for me.
So listen, it comes down to this. I'm actually getting nervous about the Mets being a Mets fan. The injury bug, you know, and our bats have gotten cold. You know, they actually sat Michael Conforto recently because he's under 200 batting average. He's overthinking his swings. Then you got Nimmo who got injured. So like it's we bring players back from injury, they get injured again. It's like I don't know what's going on. I don't know if they have to look at our training staff to see how they're helping them out before games. But the injury bug, DeGrom is out till September now. And I'm worried because our lead in the NL East in first place has dwindled.
Slimming.
Our loss yesterday brings us 2.5 games in first place. So I'm a little nervous right now.
That's too close.
That's too close. That's one game. It could be a one loss and a win by Philly. It's a half a game. You know, it could be a flip right very quickly. So it's too close to call. Let's hope it goes well. But listen, go ahead.
Let's not forget that this month alone, like I was looking at the schedule and I was talking to the baseball guys about it. Yankees only got 2 days off this month alone in August, and the Mets only have 3.
Yeah.
Like you guys literally are playing almost 10 games in a row straight. And we're talking about you playing like 3 games here, and then you're flying to the West Coast to play 6 games over there, then to fly back, get 1 day off, and then you're playing the same teams you played against. You're playing the Dodgers at home, and you're playing I believe the Giants. So again, it's gonna be tough for you guys. Obviously, for the Yankees, it's rough for us too. We're still in 4th place of the division, or third? Actually, no, 3rd place. Sorry, but the Blue Jays are creeping. The Red Sox, it's looking like the Yankees are only going to sniff the wild card too, the second wild card, honestly. Because obviously the Rays, unless some major collapse occurs where the Rays just completely choke this month and like lose the lead, which is highly doubtful. As much as I would love that, go Padres and White Sox. Still rooting for them too to be my World Series championship
I'd like to see the
matchup.
Padres. If the Mets don't get it, I'd like to see the Padres. I'd like to see.
Yeah, hopefully Tatis comes back, man. That lingering shoulder injury. That called it shoulder injury. It hurts. It's just like the hamstring. But before we get into the next, I wanted to bring up football season is officially here. Mm-hmm. We got the Hall of Fame game this Thursday. I believe it's the Steelers versus the Cowboys. Shout out to the new inducted Hall of Famers that will be there. My guy, my GOAT, Charles Woodson. Like, this man I've been following since Michigan football. I was young, but my uncle was a big fan of him. He got me into football, and shout out to him. He loved Charles Woodson in college. So for me to follow him all the way his entire career, yes, the Raiders drafted him. So of course that made me even more of a Raider fan. But no matter what, I was ecstatic for him when he won for the Packers. So kudos to him. But also shout out to the other Hall of Famers inductees. You have finally the Hispanic coach, first Hispanic coach to win the Iceman. His name is slipping my mind, which is killing me right now because I'm a Raider fan. This is not looking good for me right now. But my man is finally getting in. I believe, shout out to Coors Light, they did a commercial. And they kept pushing for this man to get inducted into the National Football League Hall of Fame. So shout out to the Iceman, first Hispanic coach to ever win the Super Bowl and everything. I believe first Hispanic quarterback as well. Mm-hmm. And, shout out to him. You got Peyton Manning. It doesn't get bigger than Peyton Manning, man.
That's my GOAT. I think of him as the real GOAT. I don't think of Tom Brady as the true GOAT. I think Peyton Manning is the true GOAT. Better player. I think he's the better player between him and Tom Brady. I wish he had played longer because then maybe he would have gotten a couple more rings. But I think, just his ability and his versatility and his vision on the field. I personally, to me, I think he was a better player than Tom Brady. I know I'll probably get crucified for that. And I don't care because it's my show. It's our show. And we can say what we want.
By the way, for the fans watching this, we both hate Tom Brady. I can respect him as saying he's a great player no matter what, but I hate him. And especially being a Raider fan, you hate this man more than anything, especially because of the Tuck rule.
We're going to be having a I Hate Tom Brady show coming up in the near future. So everybody just keep an eye out for that. It'll be an I Hate Tom Brady bash. And if you want to know why we hate him, you better tune in because we're going to let you know. But with that,
bring in a couple guests too. Guest appearances.
We will. And listen, and I can guarantee those guests will probably say Tom Brady is the best, and I will make sure to let them know that he's not. So
they'll be on the catch their hands.
Oh, I hope so. Now, with that being said, our segment for today, and we discussed some of our teams and some of the moves that they made. When we go to games, right, and when we talk about sports with friends and everything like that, there's certain fan bases that when you talk to them, you're like, damn, you were just obnoxious. Or, man, like, the sport is in an off season and you talking like it's starting up right now and not even giving any other claim to any other sports. And shout out again to Greg Polius for being able, and we tried to get him on for today, and unfortunately, because of time constraints, he wasn't able to come on. We'll get him on for another episode. But shout outs to Greg for talking about the worst fan base in his eyes being basketball, and that's basketball fans. So I want to start there before we give our opinion on who we think are the worst sports fan base. So do you agree with what Greg said with basketball fans being the worst fans all time?
I would say yes. I can agree with that. Because me and Greg are baseball guys. I try to delve into everything, but just witnessing, like, being a Nets fan, I feel like the fans now that are Brooklyn Nets fans, they're hipster fans. They're just there for the ride. They're like, oh, it's Brooklyn. Let's go, Brooklyn. I guarantee you can ask any Knicks fan that's currently watching or even in the group. I have gone to games with Knicks fans, to the Nets games. There's more Knicks fans than Nets fans there.
Mhm.
They're literally cheering for the Knicks more than you hear the Nets. You probably just hear me yelling and losing my voice. Why am I going to waste my voice if no other Nets fan is going to be there with me? You know, so that pisses me off. Then you have the fans acting up. Philly fans, I mean, Andrew Vannis, shout out to him. He always goes to Philly. He has gone to a lot of Philly games regarding the Sixers, the Flyers, like all those kind of teams. And going to a Philly game, especially the Sixers, oh, forget it. I mean, didn't we not talk about this last week about Russell Westbrook with the Sixers fan in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Man dumped popcorn there. Could have been another Madison the Palace. Who knows? But again, like Philly, I mean, any Philly fans watching, I hate Philly. Honestly, like Philly teams, I can't. Their fans are, oh my God, they're bad. It's almost as bad as Yankee fans, honest, in the old Yankee Stadium, because now it's a little polished, you know, business.
It's very it's very corporate now.
You don't hear what I used to hear in the old Yankee Stadium. Because if you didn't rock a Yankee uniform in the old Yankee Stadium and you rocked a Red Sox, oh, you were done. They were literally an entire section is calling you an asshole the entire time until you cry or get out, because we're not letting you live. We're going to continue to distract you. But going back, not to get cut off, with basketball, our fans is not only just being at the games, it's also discussing basketball. Where you have fans that, you know, Greg pointed out, Giannis wins the championship, we ridicule him still, even though he won the chip. The man won the ring at the end of the day. Regardless of what happened prior, whatever, he still balled out and he helped Milwaukee get their first ring in 50 years. Okay? There's fans, and I'm not going to lie, I was one of them. I didn't like KD going to the Warriors because I always liked him. And I kind of wanted him to win with the Thunder, you know, with Westbrook, before Harden obviously got traded or went to the Rockets and everything like that. You know, us fans, we wanted that. We kind of wanted the Thunder to win. You know, obviously, everybody wanted them to lose to the Heat so LeBron can get his ring, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But I didn't like it. But then as I started wondering, like, yo, at the end of the day, it's his choice. He was a free agent. He decided to go. Obviously, it doesn't look good through our eyes. Through us, we're like, oh, whatever. But a lot of KD haters are LeBronians. That's what it is. A lot of KD haters are LeBronians. Now, I used to hate LeBron. I never diminished his game. I can say he is a great player. When he won the chip with the Cavs, I was like, okay, I'll troll them. But honestly, I got to give him his respect. The man did it. He brought a chip back to Cleveland, even though he won with the Heat. And I had said this to my friends. Obviously, my friends troll me and come at me all the time. Like, oh, you're whatever. But when KD won that ring with the Warriors, 2 rings, I was like, you know what? He did it for himself. And then you see Greg bringing up how fans are talking about, oh, Giannis's 1 ring is better than KD's 2. Like, dude, really? Stop it. Cut the BS. Because Charles Barkley has no ring, and he's still one of the top 50 players of all time. And that man was great regardless.
I think that's where you bring up a great point. I think in the NBA, more so in other sports, and this is just from my perspective. Listen, I'm a fan. I'm not a player. I've never excelled in basketball. I'm one of those guys that chucks a shot and hopes it goes in. I'm not the type of person that's going to say by any means that anybody is not excelling within basketball or is not athletic within the game. With that being said, though, I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in the fan base for the NBA looks at this more than they look at different stats. Exactly. Correct me if I'm wrong, because you have people that are the Jordan lovers because of the amount of these. You have the people that are the LeBron lovers because of the amount of these. You have fans that will discredit the athleticism of certain players because they don't have one of these. Russell Westbrook being one of them. There are still people out there that hate on Westbrook. That man had how many triple doubles? Has the record on triple doubles, but you're
in a
not
season.
going in a season, and you're not going to give him his accolades because he doesn't have this. I feel like the reason why NBA fans are the worst fans, and they're not my worst, and I'm going to get into that in a second, but I feel like the reason why I agree with Greg is we're so quick as NBA fans, and I say it to myself too because I'm the same way. We are so quick to discredit a player's athleticism because of our hatred for the team they're playing on, because we feel they took the easy way route. We're so used to giving excuses and discrediting who they are because we're jealous of where they went. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, for example, everybody on the Knicks talks crap about Kyrie and KD. Why, as fans, do we talk that much crap about KD and Kyrie when we wanted them on our team? Because they're not on our team, because they didn't choose us. So it's that sense of jealousy. And the other thing, correct me if I'm wrong, and we'll get into other sports too, but in basketball, it's the what have you done for me lately mentality with fans. If a player has a slump of a couple of games, automatically trade him, bench him. We need LeBron 2.0. We need this player. We need that player. Instead of realizing maybe they need role players around them. Maybe they need maybe it's their coaching staff, other factors, but nobody's looking at that. And that's what kills me. But I'm going to tell you this.
Hold on. Before you bring that up, I just want to really bring up, because we're still on the topic of basketball, the Olympics right now. How many times have we seen in the polls when the USA men's basketball team lost? It wasn't the men's basketball team that lost. It was Kevin Durant.
Yep.
Kevin Durant's the leader. Kevin Durant's doing this. Yeah, Kevin Durant's the best player on the team for the Olympics. We understand that. But he's not LeBron. He's not.
Or when they won, you know who it was that they were talking about?
The rest of the team. Devin Booker dropping 20-something points.
Yes. When they win, it's a team effort. When they lose, they find that one scapegoat.
Exactly.
Hence, look what the media did with LeBron James when he went to the Heat. He was the biggest villain because of the decision. This is, and this also goes into the media. We're all into the media. We do our own media as we're doing right now. But the media plays a factor too. They take the narrative that is being built by a fan base, and they go with it because they know people will read it.
Of course. Look at Kyrie. They just came out with the news. Obviously, they didn't bring it up as much, but Kyrie just built like a water foundation or whatever, provided water for 1,000 villagers or people like that in India. And I seen in comments, not from the sports journalists, but I seen people in comments on Twitter and stuff like that saying that, oh, what happened to Flint, Michigan? Why does Kyrie have to be the only person to provide water for Flint, Michigan? They still need clean water. There's 1,000 other NBA players who make millions, or let me say over 500 or whatever, depending, makes millions. What is the NBA doing for Flint, Michigan? What are other sports or other teams or other people, citizens like ourselves, even us? What are we doing for Flint, Michigan? You know? So again, they only bring up Kyrie like, oh yeah, he partied, took a couple weeks off or a couple days off throughout the season. Obviously, it's hard to defend him when stuff like that is being thrown. But again, like you said, the media is always looking to get these people to paint some type of picture like, oh, he's a piece of crap. And he just apologized. He just posted a tweet apologizing for calling out Nike on a sneaker that he wasn't a fan of. His own sneaker. He wasn't a fan of the design or whatever like that. And again, I seen comments go at him. But let's go back to what you were about to say before I interject. I just wanted to get that out.
Well, I have to say a funny point first and foremost. So I actually Googled, and I sent this to you in another chat, but I Googled who they think are the worst fans or angriest fans. And you know what came up?
What?
Golf fans. They said golf fans were the angriest fans because of what they tweet about who's hitting, a par 5 and who's doing this. And the tweets that came out, they said the angriest fan base were golf. But that's not my angriest. That's not my worst. You know what's my worst? And nobody really talks about it because you don't really see it, is soccer fans. They
Football.
are the
Football.
yes,
You have to say football.
Excuse me,
Yes,
football.
you have to. You have to say it like that.
Football fans, because they are the ones that they will rip you apart if you are on their team and you ruin a game. They will rip you apart if you are against them. Manchester United, that type of fan base going against others at different games, the rivalry games. Those fan base, I would be afraid. It's funny because on one side, I want to see the excitement and be in that crowd because it's the most ruckus crowd. Yeah. But then on the other end, they are the most dangerous crowd. And we've heard so many stories of issues that have occurred by the football fans at different games and the threats on players by fans and their family.
Look what happened to the England players.
Yes.
The three, racism. Marcus Rashford. Shout out to Rick Etienne, Andres, a couple of the fellas in the soccer, on the football sports chat. These guys nailed it. And I believe they had a segment a couple of weeks ago just discussing it. And it's so bad. Like, I remember last week I mentioned about, Adam Jones, all the N-words he would hear at Yankee Stadium. And I can only imagine at Fenway Park as well. Yep. But, Marcus Rashford, all these three young Black athletes representing their country, playing in a big game. Yes, this is the Euro Cup, one of the biggest things in the world every 2 years, I believe. And they had a chance to win. Obviously, they lost. But the fans, just let them have it. Like, Twitter had to suspend a bunch of people from all the comments that they were saying. And it's like, what were you doing? You were sitting on your couch the entire time. As fans, we get reckless. Obviously, we're pissed that our team's lost, so obviously we're pissed. Yeah, we lash out, but never do that to the extreme, to the point where it's like you're literally disrespecting this man and his family. Perfect example, Mario Balotelli, Super Mario, a great player. This man was great. I love to watch him play. And Italy barely loved him, showed him any love. They would throw bananas.
Why?
They will call him a monkey. Yeah. They will say so much disrespectful things to this man. And he's here playing his heart out for your team, for your country. And you have one of their better players. Yeah. And you have the player, the Italian player, the other players defending him, consoling him. But it's like, I actually seen a clip. You go on YouTube and type this. Mario Balotelli, during the game, they were saying so much reckless stuff to him. They were throwing stuff at him. They threw bananas on the field. And he just broke out crying because he showed how human he really is. It don't matter if you're this echelon greatest player of all time. You could be Michael Jordan. You could be LeBron. But they're still human at the end of the day. We don't know what happens behind closed doors or how they feel about that.
Exactly. And that's why I went with the point with the football fans that, to me, they're the worst type of fan base. And the reason why is because they're so involved in their teams. They are, and maybe it's because certain countries, that's all they have, is that that to follow or that to celebrate. But they get so engulfed in it to the point where it makes them too involved. And I mean that in the sense that we talked about, fan bases in baseball and fan bases in basketball, where you think you're a part of the team, where you have to try to get into a player's head to think that's going to help your team win. You're trying to make yourself, AKA the 12th man. But in Europe, and this is no knock at the sport, I love watching soccer. Or football. I say soccer because in America we call it soccer. And shout out to the USA team for winning the Gold Cup. Shout out to them for winning the Gold Cup again. But I think they go too far. And we've seen it with players breaking down. We've seen it with players coming out and saying that they no longer want to play for certain teams because of the threats that they received.
Exactly.
And they're also the type of fan base that we think in NBA, we pocket watch. You got to see the way those fans pocket watch. When you got Cristiano Ronaldo and all these other players getting these big contracts. Messi. Lionel Messi getting these contracts and the way they pocket watch, saying he's washed up, this and that, and the way they go off on Twitter and the way they go off on social media. So that would be my worst fan base. But I want to see. I know we talked about basketball. I know we talked about soccer. But do you have anybody else that you think would be considered the worst fan base?
Baseball, I know, like I've said this before, being a Yankee fan, they're very obnoxious. And I don't blame Met fans for hating Yankee fans. I really don't. Obviously my friends are gonna come at me and be like, oh, you say that you're a Yankee. All right, bro, I've witnessed this in person. I love my brothers, I love my Yankee fans and stuff, but it's sometimes it's hard to root for this team, especially when you're there trying to have a good time. Like, I've taken my sister to a game. Very fortunate enough to never have her hear the things I've heard being said, especially in the old Yankee Stadium. I could bring up my pops. I could talk to my pops about that all day, every day about that. And I would say, yeah, Yankee fans, Red Sox fans, obviously. Philly fans, I can only imagine. Yeah. We don't, of course, we could talk to Andrew about that because he's been to a bunch of Philly games. But other than that, NBA-wise, I mean, you brought up the Knicks, during the playoffs. Somebody spit on Trae Young. Like, this is, you go overboard. And there's really no reason for that.
But I think also, I think, and if I can interject for a second. So we're talking about worst fan bases, right? Sports worst fan base. And we can definitely break it down where we can say the worst teams that have the worst fan bases. But can we logistically say that one fan? So, like, say for that Knicks fan spitting on Trae Young, right? And this is an open-ended question. Do you say that because of that one fan, that ultimately the New York Knicks are a terrible fan base?
No.
Because that's what we have to look at too, logistically, because we have to see that we could see an incident and think automatically that fan base is, they're trash, the way they do it. Or are there situations like the Philadelphia Flyers, the Philadelphia Eagles, even the Oakland Raiders, where their fan base
Vegas Raiders now.
Excuse me, Vegas Raiders. I can't get used to that. Shout out to Rob Oliva, who is a fan of the show. He actually got to see the Vegas Stadium and got a tour of it, and he actually is in love with it. I actually got to see some pictures. You're going to be a fan of it. You better get out there as a fan.
Oh, I'm actually planning to go this year, at least one game.
Good. But it actually puts the Dallas Stadium to shame. I'll tell you that right.
I mean, we all hate the Cowboys. Sorry, Reno. Sorry, Peter. True. We hate the Cowboys. No, but not America's team.
To finish up my point, and this is because we are running out of time for today. But what we do have to keep in mind is, as fans, if we see one incident, that could be an isolated incident. We can't really say that fan base is a terrible fan base.
You can't go by one fan.
You can't go by one fan or one incident. But when you have occurring situations such as, shout out to Andrew again, talking about the Philadelphia, games where he would go to and he sees fights galore. I know if you're a Flyers fan and you're a Rangers fan going into the Flyers Stadium, the Flyers fans are going to boo you worse than the Yankee fans towards Red Sox fans. And they might even do more than just boo you. The Eagle fans. The Eagles have not won a championship in so many years, if at all, and they act as if they are even going to be a part of championship teams, and they run into yelling at all of these fan bases as if they're this top-tier team. They can't even get a quarterback that actually works. But those are incidents that happen over and over again. We've seen Santa get things thrown at him at Philadelphia Eagle games, right? We've seen all of these incidents. That's when you can label somebody or a sport a terrible fan base. But I think we have to be careful about isolated incidents. And that's why I'm going to let you jump in, but that's why I agree more so with Greg overall. I think soccer or football is the worst fan base, but I agree more with Greg because as fans, we're too much pocket watching in the NBA. We're too much discrediting different talents of players because of the lack of these. Manny, what do you got?
So before we go, obviously we do the Cassie's Hand segment Step into my office with the Coliseum in the background. I was actually looking for a Avenue location next week. Trust me, it's gonna be funny.
I love it.
But I wanted to give the hands to every single person that because you brought it up, that came at and disrespected Simone Biles. Okay? Right now, we're in a pandemic. We're still in a pandemic, regardless of everybody getting a vaccine. We're not getting vaccinated. That's fine. That's your choice at the end of the day. Just be careful. That's what you got to do. Just be careful and be respectful. But to come at Simone Biles because she dropped out, let's not forget, she's under 25 years old. She's what, 24?
Yeah.
She's young. And we're in a pandemic where mental health is so big right now. And obviously, a lot of us suffer. I've been seeing a therapist. I'm not going to lie. I've been seeing one since last year. So again, it helps. Therapy helps. I'm telling you. But for Simone Biles, who's in Japan representing the USA, regardless, you think just because she dropped out, she was still in the stands cheering the girls, cheering the team on, being there, giving out pointers and stuff. And yet everybody on Twitter, all these supposed fans of USA over here ridiculing her. Oh, well, such and such. And then Novak Djokovic, tennis
I was
star.
just going to say, that's my catch the hands.
Bro, this man disrespected her. And then literally the same day or the day after, he throws a fit in a match for bronze. He throws a fit, he loses, throws his racket, complains about it twice. And then he walks off. He drops out. And it's like, okay, but guess what? Simone Biles performed last night, got the bronze. I don't care if she got gold or not. She got a medal at the end of the day. After everybody was ridiculing her and trying to put this pressure and paint it on her, she's still a queen. She's great. She's phenomenal. And I give it to her. And I give it to every single athlete representing the USA. Shout out to all my peoples in DR as well. You athletes. You know, PR got a couple medals, you know, shout out to them, gold medals, you know, congrats to them. All those countries performing, you know, shout out to all of you. Because I already know there's definitely a lot of them who've lost and probably getting extradited from their country. Like their country is probably coming at them and disrespecting them. And it's like, but you're not there. You're watching it.
Yeah.
So again, how about you train for 4 years in the sport and get ready for the next Olympics? How about that? I know I'm not.
Well, I already told everybody as a dad, I'm trying to make a petition for alligator wrangling children to try to change their diaper because I got an 11-month-old that I have to hold by one leg as I'm trying to change. So I'm trying to make that an Olympic sport. So if anybody's listening, I'm making a petition for that to be an Olympic sport for 2032. I will definitely be a part of it. But you bring up a great point. And this is my closing remarks for today. As fans, we go through it every day where sometimes we don't like our job. Sometimes some days are tougher than others. We cannot and should not ever react to a player that might just not have it on a given night, that might just need that mental health day to get their act together. You don't know the conditions that are down in Tokyo. You don't know what people are going through, sleeping on cardboard beds, from what I heard, having to go through COVID protocols, worse than what we are going through in the United States right now, where there's no fans, there's no excitement. You have your team around you, but you've trained so many years. And for her, more so than everybody else, and I speak about her instead of just any sport in general, but for her, everybody, similar to what they did to Michael Phelps a couple of years ago, and ridiculing him for smoking weed, he did that to give himself the relaxation. For Simone Biles, we all put the United States on her back, saying that she was our one reason for the amount of gold medals we were going to win. And if she didn't perform well, we were in danger. For a young woman like her, I tip my hat to her for still being able to step up, still be able to perform in her final apparatus last night, which we'll be showing tonight, and being able to at least get bronze, because she showed everybody that you can talk as much garbage as you want. But at the end of the day, what I need is most important so that I can represent my country. And that is something that we lose sight of when we look at other sports, when we talk about Kyrie missing a game, when we talk about Kawhi, sitting out a game. Sometimes a player might not just have it. And as fans, we have to say that's okay, because I can guarantee 365 days when you go to work, there might be days you might not just have it. But it's okay, because then the next day you bring it. I am Mike Phillips from the Fan Zone. We got my co-host, Manny Schefter. We will be here every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Make sure to catch the Sports Hit List live on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Check out the B Show on Thursdays at 5. And also make sure you are always checking out Smoke and Mirrors on Mondays and Fridays at 1 p.m. We are here for you. We are here for the fans. Thank you very much, and have a good night.
Thank you all. Have a blessed day.